Today we are going to study the topic Church State Relations from Constantine. Constantine's conversion and its after effects. Constantine was the Roman emperor, and on the eve of the crucial battle of Milvian Bridge outside Rome, Constantine had a mystical experience. And when he had that mystical experience, he was already monotheistic. That means believing in one God, or at least a semi monotheistic. But his God was Apollo, or he worshipped Apollo, or Sol Invictus. That means the unconquered sun. The accounts of his mystical experience vary, but it seems he had a vision of the cross. Exactly, it was not a cross, it was laborum. Laborum simply means the two alphabets of the word Christos, Chi and Rho. And this, when he had this vision, there was an inscription attached to that is, conquer by this. And then he had a dream and was directed to put the sign of the cross or of this laborum on his soldiers' shields. This he did and won the subsequent battle that we read in New Eusebius, page 283 to 284. But we are not very clear whether his conversion was real. Actually, a decoration struck to mark the military victory attributed that also to the sun god. And for some years, Constantine's coins would still feature the unconquered sun and various other gods. Then how can we say that he really converted to Christianity? Constantine probably lacked a full understanding of the exclusiveness of Christianity and retained relics of his old belief system. In addition, he may have needed to fabricate his beliefs to retain political support and occupy the political middle ground. Certainly, his faith had a magical dimension as well. When his mother Helena found a piece of the allegedly true cross, Constantine hid it in a statue of himself standing in the Forum of Constantine in Constantinople, in the belief that this would cause the city to be preserved forever. So he had a lot of magical experiences, and these all question his real conversion and how strongly he connected Christianity and ethics must be open to question in the light of his family's history. He had his son Crispus executed, possibly for adultery in 326. He then came to feel that his second wife, Fausta, had manipulated the situation and he forced her to commit suicide to ensure that he gained the full benefit of the rite. Constantine delayed his own baptism until he was on his deathbed in 337. So, by looking at all these incidents, we have clear doubt about his real conversion. And his conversion is mainly because of political reason and also because of his mystical experience. The genuineness of his conversion. It is unlikely to have been primarily a conversion of political conveniences. The reason is this: at that time, Christianity were a minority, maybe only 15 to 20% in the empire, and also it was an illegal religion. and they mainly came from the lower classes who were politically and military insignificant. So, for what reason he should join such an insignificant and also a group which had no power in the society to embrace? So, this shows that his conversion may be genuine, and Christians could thus not offer much to Constantine in terms of political advantage because they did not have any power at that time. So, this suggests that, according to his own understanding, Constantine saw himself as genuinely embracing Christianity. However, it should be noted that his concern in becoming a Christian was probably not so much the salvation of his soul, but rather to obtain the support of the supreme ruler of the universe in his struggles with an enemy for power, and more generally in the defense and administration of his realm. He wishes to maintain the Pax Diorum, that means the peace of the gods, as his predecessors had done, but he looked to a new divinity for this purpose. So his conversion may be genuine, but his interest was not the salvation of his own soul. Instead, to get a protection from a powerful God, to prevent all kinds of attacks from the enemies, and also to maintain the peace of the gods, Pax Diorum. The only difference he had with his forefathers or the other emperors, that he looked to a new divinity for having peace of gods in Roman Empire. So instead of going after the Roman gods, he established a new divinity in the state of Rome. But Constantine's conversion to Christianity had lot of impacts, and it gave lot of privileges to Christianity. So shall we now look at Constantine favoring Christianity? First one is religious tolerance. While some historians debate whether Constantine and his co-emperor Licinius in the eastern half of the empire signed the Edict of Milan in 313. Certainly from that year there was toleration for all religions in the empire, and all confiscated church properties was restored. Note that Christianity, while now the favored religion, was not at the state religion. So in 313, Constantine and his co-emperor both signed an edict, and the name of that edict was Edict of Milan, which is very famous, and all of us should remember this date. In 313 AD, through the Edict of Milan, Constantine declared Christianity as a legal religion of the Roman Empire. And how, and because of that, he tolerated Christianity, and Christianity became a favored religion because it's a religion of the emperor. But that time also, it was not been a state religion. That all happened later. Privileges for Christian clergy. Christian clergy were very quickly declared exempt from taxation and from the burdens of the public office. As a decurion, the Christians also declared as decurion. So, Christian clergy, the clergy means those who are ordained. So, there was a difference between clergy and laity. Laity simply means common people. So, Christian clergy were very quickly declared exempt from taxation and from the burdens of public offices. This led to many people seeking ordination as an escape from tax. So, in 326 and 329, this same Constantine passed edicts to forbidding people joining in large numbers. So everyone want to become clergy because of lot of privileges that the clergy enjoyed after the Edict of Milan. So Constantine had to pass edicts to forbidding people joining in large numbers. Financial aid to the church. Constantine quickly began delivering state aid through the church to the poor. He gave cash subsidies to the Catholic Church in North Africa in 313 itself. He gave grain to the Bishop of Alexandria for the support of widows and the poor. He paid for the building of beautiful church buildings or basilicas, including 7 at Rome. All this gave the church enormous standing in the eyes of society. And again, actions against paganism. In 324, Constantine forbade the erection of cult statues. In the consultation of pagan oracles, divination of any sort, and sacrifice to the gods. This did not ban paganism per se, means completely, and the edict was probably a dead letter, at least in the West. But it did show Christianity to be the preferred religion. Shortly after this edict, Constantine sent commissioners to each eastern provinces. They stripped pagan temples of their wealth and destroyed a number of shrines. Next, Sunday. From the first century, Christians' worship had taken place on Sunday. So Constantine's changes did not therefore affect Sunday as a day of worship, but as a day of work. In 321, Constantine closed the law courts on the venerable day of the sun and declared Sunday labor except where necessary on farms. So, from 321 onwards, Sunday became a holy day in the Roman Empire, and even today we continue that. Sunday simply means venerable day of the sun. Other effects of Constantine's conversion were mass conversion. Many people embrace Christianity because it is the favored religion and is a religion of the emperor. Power and prestige to the clergy. But at the same time, lot of clerical corruption started happening in the Roman Empire. So these are the effects of Constantine embracing Christianity and the church-state relations.